Hey guys, welcome back to the Vid-Bits. I'm Bray.
And I'm Brian, and today we're going to be playing the first Mario vs. Donkey Kong game, Donkey Kong 94, for the Game Boy. And as you see, we're playing on the Game Boy, Super Game Boy for Super Nintendo, and in that version, you get this sweet arcade border that's like their own version of like what a sequel would be to the original Donkey Kong arcade. And it really is called Donkey Kong 94, or actually on the cartridge itself, Donkey Kong, because you see you're actually doing a Game Boy version of the arcade Donkey Kong. It actually has, instead that you look at all the other conversions, and they don't have like even like that conversion screen where it shows you how high you go, which is reminiscent of the arcade. It's pretty neat that this version does. You know, we have the NES version of Donkey Kong that doesn't have that transition screen, and we all know famously it omits the cement level, or commonly referred to as Pie Factory level, and it omits that in almost every home conversion. But at the beginning of Donkey Kong 94, you can see they obviously have the processing power, even in 8-bit form, to be able to replicate that, which is amazingly complex. That if it wasn't a launch title, I believe that the Donkey Kong that we got for Nintendo, which has been proven in some time, was actually able to have all of the levels converted. They just would have had to possibly get a bigger motherboard on there or chipset to do it. You know, like some of the older other advanced level NES games, some of the higher Castlevanias and stuff that have a bigger chipset to try to incorporate more. But this is pretty awesome. I am definitely kind of tanking on purpose to just kind of show you the different layers of this game. You can see it controls just like the original Donkey Kong, but you know, you have the hammer in the beginning and everything. But what happens to be awesome about this is it is the beginning of the toolkit that they develop the Mario vs. Donkey Kong game.
Wow, that was crazy.
For the Game Boy Advance.
So, Dad, I was wondering, did you grow up playing this game, or did you have it as a kid?
I did not have it as a kid, so it was one of those games that I didn't play for the first time until after I played the Game Boy Advance version. But the cool thing is, and what I'm about to show you now, since I'm done my last life, is if you've played Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Advance, you get to do stuff like this, where you can pogo on your hands.
What?
And then, you know, since it's kind of this first level and you would be defeated,
You can jump up to the next platform. That is
next.
so awesome. The movement capabilities is crazy. Like, that's nuts.
And you get the neat animation where you see me getting flattened, and then I get to like flop around.
And when you got hit by the fireball, you got like torched.
And the cool thing about this is, say you get the hammer, you can get the hammer, and you can also, you know, take out some barrels. But then you can toss the hammer in the air, go up to the next level. Oh, and I didn't get it, but you can catch the hammer by tossing it up to the next level. And again, it's a situation where it's showing you the building blocks where...
Wow, that's such a cool game over screen, Dad.
It definitely is. Showing you the building blocks of where Mario versus... Now, you know, this game is 30 years old, and we're talking now today about the re-release of the game for the Switch. So it's neat to be able to go and see where, you know, some of Mario's more advanced moves starts to come from, considering the fact that, you know, most people think he controls rather similar around this era, but you
Up
know,
until 64, where they feel like the movement changes.
Right, so check this out though, see if I can pull it off. We'll take a couple of these barrels out, but just to show you, and again, I'm just kind of tanking because I'm talking, and I will get a little more serious and show you how quickly you can actually beat, which is insane, like the first couple screens of the game, or the first loop of the arcade game. But some of the more advanced moves is you do the handstand, you pick up a hammer, right, and then I can take out some barrels, I can throw the hammer in the air.
Wow, okay.
Catch it.
That you literally caught it and then
So say,
hit that fireball. That's
back
awesome.
in the day, you'd have the hammer, and like you'd be, you know, you'd die because you saw a barrel that was going to come through.
And you can literally throw it up to the next level and keep it.
Yeah, and the thing about the fact that you could throw it up in the air, and be able to still jump the barrels. If you thought the barrels were coming too fast, you could throw the hammer in the air and you know, be able to jump a barrel in front of you. And again, I'm just kind of beginning to talk about it, but I'm going to show you how quickly you can really beat this first screen.
Wow. Okay.
And that's it.
That is a speed run. That is crazy.
That's pretty impressive, right? And then you'd never think that you could beat that fast. You didn't even get to start thinking
You take
about...
all your guys but the last one to beat that.
Right. It shows you how hard, though, because honestly, you know, and it's been said before, Donkey Kong is a blistering hard game.
Wow. So this is the Pie Factory?
Yes. Donkey Kong is one of those games that when you play it in the arcade, you will you'll probably die within the first minute to 2 minutes. Most games don't last more than 3 minutes. The average game doesn't last more than 3 minutes especially when you first get into it. So, you know, to be able to be in those stages, and I'm just kind of dorking around in this stage too, because most people don't even get to see the Pie Factory
Well,
stage.
because a lot of the ports don't have the Pie Factory stage. Like, until you showed me some of the ports that do, I didn't know, because I don't know if I had... Is it the game? Yeah, I had the Game Boy Advance version as a kid. The one you're talking about. Because my first portable console was a GBA. And I used that Game Boy Advance to play, like, Pokemon and stuff. But I also played, you know... I played and beat Donkey Kong, like a cycle of Donkey Kong, for the first time on the Game Boy Advance. But this is awesome. I didn't know that you could do all this stuff, like throwing the hammer up and doing the handstands and all these movement tricks. Like, that's so cool. And it brings a whole new layer to Donkey Kong. Like, literally, that was stuff that was impossible.
On top of the advanced animation of, like, some of it, too, it's like they got to do a love letter to the original arcade game, you know, almost 20, what was it, if we do the math, like 23 years later this came out versus the original arcade game. So just to be able to do, and you'll see, like, the game opens up way more after the first loop of Donkey Kong, and I don't want to get too spoiled. You'll actually get to kind of see how, you know, when we say the spiritual beginnings of Mario versus Donkey Kong. But look at this, I get to run over these one-piece gaps, which is just neat.
Oh, instead of falling down?
Yep.
So I
throw the hammer up, catch it, hit the fireball.
It is
throw the hammer up.
It is so awesome to watch you play, Dad. Like, I mean, I'm gonna probably play here in a little bit after
Absolutely.
you die, but like,
Oops.
I just like watching you play Donkey Kong games is the same as watching you play Pac-Man or watching you play any game that you have so much experience in. Like, Donkey Kong is your jam.
I love it.
So, like, to watch you play classic arcade games, it just makes me more into it. And, like, for the longest, I was very intimidated by classic arcade games, and I felt like it wasn't very accessible to newer people. But once I watched you play and you kind of explained things to me when I was younger, I got such a love for classic arcade games. Like, my personal favorite classic arcade game, I love Dragon's Lair, but I mean... Mappy. That is my favorite, like, score-based arcade game, and that was because you gave me the blue Namco plug-and-play stick that came with some classic Namco games, and I hooked that. That was technically my first console.
So parents, do not undersell the value of those things that people are like, oh, that's a crappy gift. It could be, you know, but, like, for something like that, it got to be something that, you know, he realized he enjoyed.
It is I found out one of my favorite games of all time because of that. And it was something that, it's just because you look at the pattern and sometimes it won't click for you. But there are certain games that they're almost designed for the way you think. Like, I am such a, I don't know, the speedrunning games I'm good at. DuckTales. You hold right pretty much the whole time except for certain times that you have to stop, back up, kind of replace yourself. But, like, wow, this stage is different than I anticipated it would be.
Yeah, it's the one of those stages that the fireballs, you know, you get some aggressive lays or you get some friendly lays, but it seems to be a mixed bag depending on when you play it.
But what I was saying is, like, that I found out that I loved Mappy because you kind of have to keep going. You have to make decisions on the fly. You have to change your play style as the AI adapts to what kind of things you've done. And I also love the score multiplier system in that game. I love how you pick up
you
pick up pairs of items, and if you pick them up in ascending order in value, you will make more money. Like, or not money, but you'll get more points. And I just felt like that was so genius. In certain arcade games, they really just click in your mind, and when you can kind of grasp and understand the concept in the gameplay loop, it's so rewarding to get to high levels on that.
Look at that. He's taken away the girl, and that's the chase that you'll see when you're playing that new version that come out on the Switch, the new remake, or revision, or remaster, whatever you want to call it. You'll see these transition screens are very much the ones that inspired those, especially these locked doors that we now see are going to be one of our adversaries.
And the keys. Yeah, that's crazy. I never really liked the Mario versus Donkey Kong games, like the later ones, too much, because wasn't there like the wind up little toys and stuff that they I don't know, I guess like they changed so much that it wasn't exactly my jam. I still appreciated it because the gameplay was still enjoyable, but like it was just a different kind of experience at that point.
And if you see that, again, I kind of messed around a little bit, but that was just pretty much the prelude, and now we're actually getting into the real game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, it's not just a...
Nope.
It's not just a remake of the... I'm so stupid.
No, that's okay.
That's just how you learn all of the moves.
And if you look at this, you are now looking at Mario versus Donkey Kong. Like, this is the beta version, so they just didn't call it that, but
It is the first Mario versus Donkey Kong title.
Yeah.
Because this is the base gameplay.
It is.
Wow. I mean, I think I really enjoy Mario versus...
Yeah, man, I took that hammer. He freaked out.
I really enjoy Mario versus Donkey Kong in essence. I guess it was just like when I as a kid I purchased it for the 3DS.
Yeah.
I think as well. I mean, I rebought so I had played is there a Donkey Kong port or just a remake of Donkey Kong for Game Boy?
I think there is a NES Classics
version.
The
NES, okay, I have that's what I had for Game Boy.
But see, look, we have the key mechanics where it returns if it doesn't get picked up in time. We have the 3 items. Like, it is all here.
But it's still themed after the original Donkey Kong. Like,
yes, because
with the items you're picking up and everything, like, it's not themed off of...
the minis and all that.
Right, the minis and... what was it? Pauline has some sort of significance in that story.
Well, that's still who we're saving here, so yeah. But yeah, she does.
Well, but she actually has her new sprite, like the remade sprite that they did with her. Where
I got it, so it looks like I get a roulette play here since I picked up all the things, and we'll just see what goes on here.
Oh, I guess she does have the remade sprite in the top right, but she still is represented by the old version.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even see this though because it's only because of this extra, gimmick here.
Oh, so this was obviously made after. Cool.
It was actually co-designed on the game pack itself. It said, enhanced by the Super Game Boy on the cartridge itself.
Okay, so that's something that's written into the code. If the Super Game Boy is used,
correct,
then this is displayed. That is so intricate.
There's some other games that do it. I know Pokemon Yellow does it too.
So say you own these games, right? You legally own them, and then you were to emulate them online. Would certain emulators be able to also do this, or is this would it only be possible on the Super Game Boy?
I believe it would probably be upon the emulator to code that in and see if they do that.
That'd be like a custom feature type thing. But to me, as someone who really loves and appreciates video games, I understand, having to legally obtain the license. However you do that. Why don't they just make it so you can go online and pay Nintendo? Say you're not even paying them for the game on their service. Hey, Nintendo, I want this Game Boy game. Here's $20 on your website, and this is now, I own an official license key that says so-and-so is legally allowed to emulate this game online. I don't understand why they don't do something like that. Like, even if they don't want to license it themselves, just to make it so you are legally, like, technically speaking, within the law, if you own a copy of the game, or have purchased it under, your license, whatever your licenses are held by, so say your Nintendo account, or your Xbox account, or PlayStation account, whatever respective thing, say it's older games, you're able to emulate those if you legally own them.
I don't know, and hopefully they don't reuse the big E, the big emulation word, but and I guess whatever you feel on whatever about it, I think I'm on the side of preservation for preservation's sake, and also for
because certain games are completely inaccessible, and when they take services down and they're not going to be willing to give us this stuff back, it'll be dead.
Well, look where we're at now. We are playing we were playing Donkey Kong 94 because we own this cartridge and we own the Super Nintendo, we own the Super Game Boy, and we are playing it on all of that stuff. We own these things. This is not a code on an emulator. It's the actual hardware, the actual software, all that. You know what I mean?
But so many people never get to experience some amazing games.
It's the only way you can play this right now.
And
It's not on.
you're
it's
not
on the
you're not
system.
gonna go to the average person and expect them to go buy a Super Nintendo, hunt down a Super Game Boy,
to stream
hunt
it.
down
To stream it, correct? Yeah.
or not even just to stream it, just to play it.
Well, yeah, because you really don't even want to play it on an original Game Boy. No offense to original Game Boy, but unfortunately, between screen rot and so many better options nowadays, to play this on original Game Boy itself is just not the best way to be able to see it. It's so blurry. There's so much tearing and all that. It's very difficult to be able to. Wow, there is a maximum amount of fall damage. There's so much, screen tearing and everything, ghosting and all that. Because if you run too fast and all that, where it's not as enjoyable. We're playing this in 1080p with an upscaler, and it's pretty amazing how crisp it is. It's actually more crisp. We were playing with the upscaler Game Boy Advance player, and it's actually more crisp on the Super Nintendo with the Super Game Boy.
What's crazy is Super Game Boy is more available than the Game Boy player on the GameCube. Just the disc alone is so expensive.
The majority of the cost. It's more expensive than the attachment itself. It retains like 75% of the value.
I feel like people don't understand how important emulation is. That's like saying that that once this book is not resold, nobody ever has access to that book ever again.
Right.
Like, why? Just because you want to be withholding, or you want to wait till a later date to make more people fork out a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is they want to be like, oh, we can do a remake or a remaster, and if you emulate this will kill the audience for that game. No, it won't. No, it won't, Nintendo. I mean, I don't understand why they don't just think that that'll spark more talk about their product.
Right.
Like, a lot of these games, you're not going to get anybody's money, because the only way that anyone's going to get this stuff is through third-party selling anyways. So Nintendo's not going to get the money from you buying a Super Nintendo from someone else and buying all these games secondhand. So why do you care if people would like to emulate these for historical reasons? Because
it's still, the Nintendo themselves have prided themselves on making sure that they hold ultimate value over the software that's created. Like, it's almost like a marriage between the life force that was creating the software. They respect so much that they make sure that they have a value that they hold above everyone else.
There is no fair use laws in Japan. With copyrighted material, there is no fair use. So if Nintendo wants, that's why they get so bitchy on people on the internet when it comes to their music, when it comes to a bunch of stuff.
When they want.
Like, I understand. If it's like, so-and-so uploads Nintendo's full OST for a game and then is making money off of that, that's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think that's completely wrong. But when someone's just trying to play a game or experience something, or even when it comes to the emulation side, when something's completely unpurchasable and they're suing people and they're causing a big fuss, like, I understand, like, when people are pirating content and it's brand new Switch games that are getting played on Steam or on PC, that's not right. You should not be playing brand new titles that just came out on your computer and upscaling it and making it look better, pretty much making the people who made the content look bad. I understand that stuff is bad for business, but when it comes to stuff that's so cool. But when it comes to stuff that people just want to experience because they've never experienced it before and they just heard about it, but now it's just so inaccessible because they don't have it through their own legal means, like, it's just it's bothersome that people just think that content should be lost.
Right, and I think Nintendo, maybe in this specific situation, because they haven't put this out on their virtual console, it could be coming. It could be coming because the other game is coming. You know what I mean? They haven't. I don't know if it's on the list of ones to come. If you know, and please let us know in the comments if you've seen like a list that I haven't seen about games to still be released on Game Boy Online. There's a possibility.
I feel like they're pretty much done with that service. I don't know if they're giving us any more stuff.
Well, I don't know, besides the fact that I need it for online, for games like, Mario Kart and Splatoon and stuff.
When the last time we we have been playing Mario Party. I feel like we get the most use, actually, out of the N64 and the and the Super Nintendo packs. I feel like those are the games we play the most. Oh my gosh, we have to play one of my favorite games sometime on stream. Super Dodgeball.
Yeah.
That is my favorite NES game of all time, and it's just because it clicks with me, and I really understand how the super moves work and know how to abuse them, and it's a really fun time. It's one of the first games on NES I could just beat. I beat it at a very young age because it's not a super hard game. I mean, don't get me wrong, anyone can kind of learn how to beat Super Dodgeball, but it's just so fun. It's my favorite sports game on the NES.
It's awesome. I mean, it all makes me feel like Double Dragon-esque, all that same type of animation and like.
Oh yeah, it's what's the company? It's not Double Dragon. It's
Technos.
Is that still Double Dragon? No, that's what's it called?
Technos did Technos?
Did they?
No, that was Acclaim, but
that was what's the it's.
Oh crap! This might be the boss fight.
Oh, the boss fight. It's a game that people really love. It's on the NES. It's like it pioneered kind of this sort of concept.
River City.
There it is. River City Ransom.
Oh.
It's part of the Kunio-kun universe.
Right.
I think. I do believe. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it's kind of enveloped in that whole, because it's all the same art style. You can tell when you see those characters who made them, or what company that's associated with. But we gotta play that for stream. I mean,
absolutely.
Would you be willing to play that later tonight, just for a chill little small session? You don't know?
Definitely soon. I mean,
definitely considering it.
For sure. Well, how about we plan to do that tomorrow? Because we said we were doing Saturday streams, and we did stream last Saturday night. That's when we did start our Cuphead stream, and we don't have really anything on the docket, so we could do like a playthrough of a bunch of like a bum rush of a
bunch of NES games.
A bunch of NES games.
That sounds fun.
I'd love to do that.
We're just trying to take a small little respite from zombies, so we don't burn ourselves out, because there is still so much to do with zombies. We've got a couple games, a lot of maps to cover still. We're getting close to finishing off Black Ops 3.
We're actually making purchases right now, waiting on funds to finish making purchases to get the rest of the content to be able to do that, and that's just being straight up with you. So that does take a little bit of time as well, because we fund this all completely out of pocket, out of the love of the community, and to be able to continue living the dream. So that also is a key factor, but we do have that coming up real soon, because I do want to not lose any momentum in my skills. Also, I've been restraining from playing other FPSs that I want to play right now, so I don't get you know what I mean, like, oh, grenades this and lunges this. And
yeah, you like get in the mindset of another game.
I mean, I can do that. I can usually multitask with that stuff, but then I feel like you can be way better when you dedicate to one or two, rather than being mediocre at many. I mean, in my heyday, I felt like I could translate and go between the games and be really good at all of them. But as I get a little bit older, I don't want to be that guy that costs the victory because he's, oh my god, I forgot that's lunge, or that was juke, or that was dash, or that was the grenade.
Or you're just thinking of maps for other multiplayer games.
You're aiming down sights in the game that you're not supposed to aim down sights. Oh my god.
I totally get that.
Okay, I need to remember that I need to stand in handstand mode, or I'm gonna finish.
I can also be quiet. If
you're fine.
This is a boss fight, so if you need to clutch him a little bit.
I appreciate that. It's the first one too. I believe there's 9 worlds in this game, so there's a lot to be had in this little Game Boy cartridge. So if you ever do have a Game Boy, or you happen to have an analog pocket, or any version of the Game Boy, then this is definitely a game that you're getting a lot of value.
This is very late in the Game Boy.
94. So
yeah, this is the last year. What was the last year? Was it 95?
I don't know when the last year they made official Game Boy games, and then they switched to strictly making color.
That's worth a Google.
It is worth a Google. This is so difficult for me right now for some reason. I know what I need to do is actually go up that first ladder instead of like cutting all the way to the ladder that's all the way on the left.
98 with Pokemon Yellow.
That's the last official
in America, yeah. I think they were still supporting it in Japan for a while because, the Japanese market kind of lasts just a little bit longer for certain consoles. But yeah, Pokemon Yellow, so 98. I mean, the Game Boy lasted a long time, and they were still developing and learning new tricks and different techniques to make the most of the hardware even then. So I feel like you look at this, and then what's a very early example on the Game Boy? As far as fluidity and possibilities for a game comparative to this.
So like the first game that ran.
I guess actually, what's Super Mario Land? That game looks like utter garbage compared to this. Look at how Mario's sprite is, how quickly he can move. But then you look at Super Mario Land, the first one, and how little they knew about the tech. How much they had to left to master, and the type of graphical capabilities that this was really capable of. They were really able to do. You know?
Right, and unfortunately it got to the point where then like the only reason why they probably stopped even working on these games is because they're like, we can do even better, but we'd have to get a bigger board, we'd have to do this, and like, well then we'd have to drive the cost up, and we are working on the next gen, so we kind of
might
have
as
to
well
let it
just
go.
wait. Yeah.
Right. And it's sad because then you're like, well, that's why I like a lot of these developers that are finally getting to do the things, because they have unlimited space for smaller bit games, 8-bit, 16-bit, and then they can just have what happens when you put 10 gigs behind a game that's 16-bit? How much can you do with it? Like, amazing things with sound, amazing things with graphics.
Oh
and
yeah,
depth
the capabilities are so much higher now, like, because you're just trying to recreate that old style, but you don't have the actual limitations of the hardware that created that style in the first place.
Absolutely. But yeah, this is a fun romp, and it's not. I think if you're, when you're good, you could probably beat this in like 3 or 4 hours. I think I just was messing around. I didn't watch it, but I saw. It said. I didn't watch his video, so I don't know if it's tasks or anything like that, but it said speed run, and it said it was under 3 hours, so I don't doubt that at all. I mean, but, your first time through, you're definitely not doing it in 3 hours, and you'll have a good time, man.
I love the movement, though. That's so cool.
And I haven't even really done, like, one of the moves. I kind of was waiting to talk about it until I get a good spot to do it and kind of to debut it, but this, like, when I talk about the introduction to increasing Mario's movement in his toolkit between, like, Mario 1, 2, 3, World 64, we got this transitionary period here where we got something crazy going on where Mario can do a sideways jump based on momentum, but I got to get myself a good space to do it in. I'm just trying to not get tagged by that mouse.
So almost like the Mario 64 jump?
Like
a beta on that?
Right, when you you tilt to the right, then you jerk back to the left or whatever, and then you do the sweet sideways jump.
Yeah.
Like that.
What?
No, actually, that was a backflip too.
That you can do the backflip though too?
I didn't even remember that you could do the backflip.
So this game literally debuts a lot of that movement capabilities, a lot of those early movement capabilities from Mario predating the 3D games even.
Yeah.
Which people don't even talk about that.
No, they don't. I'm sure there's probably some amazing non-translated magazines that I know that Did You Know Gaming is actually going through and getting some of those articles from Famitsu and some of these older publications translated so that we can find out for the first time some of these inside baseball between these developers about some of these games, which is amazing because nobody really thought to do that, and they probably go into a little bit more depth than we don't.
How much height does the backflip give you?
It looks like I'm getting...
the backflip. How did you even execute that?
I think that only happened because I was on the treadmill, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
No, you did it again when you got up
Oh my god,
there.
and I did a roll. Did you see that?
I don't think it's the treadmill. I thought you did it right when you landed again.
I just need to get a better situation as far as...
That was cool how you rode his head like that.
And this is completely different than the last time I went through on it before I died. You can see some of the more moves I'm doing. The time's up too, because I kept getting caught on that treadmill.
Can I give it a go?
Absolutely, man.
I know this is
no, especially since I restarted.
Oh, you restarted.
Yeah,
right.
I wanted there to be a good point for you to do that.
So can you... Okay, so that's pick up
jump. Enemies. You can kill them with enemies with other enemies. That's
how you backflip.
Yeah, this is probably the best time for you to learn that. But yeah, that's...
Wait, so you can backflip.
The backflip, I believe, is what I was talking about. Is like this side, yeah.
Yeah, it's left, right.
It's what I was referring to as the side.
Okay, that's like
jump.
The side jump.
Yeah, because it's only
that's cool,
2D,
though.
so you're not going to be able to see it in the way that they envisioned it, but you can see what they meant though, because that move gets you out of a lot of difficult positions in Mario 64. It's a suave move too.
Wait. Huh.
And there's the backflip, or is that the same thing?
That is the same thing. And it seems to give you more distance. I'm gonna go for a crazy deal. Oh, if he was gonna go up a little bit, I was literally gonna do a double backflip onto that other platform.
It's awesome.
Sometimes the first time I play a game, I just test the limitations of said game and just do the most craziest stuff I can do. Like, and try to see what's possible in that game.
Right.
Like, the first thing I'll do is see what jump is, see what crouch is. Is there what kind of features is this game lacking? So I'm not trying to do things that I can't do. Like,
Absolutely. I mean, it's fun to test the limitations of the
Okay,
game.
so-
The designer probably wants to see what you're going to do with this game.
I don't know, unless you're Shigeru Miyamoto and he's very disappointed in his son for trying to run up a green slope that doesn't do anything in Mario 64. He literally is quoted in saying he started questioning his son's intelligence when he started running up a diagonal slope that was, like, obviously something you couldn't go up. But it's just like, he's doing that same thing. He's like, can I glitch out of the game? Can I be like, hey, Dad, your game's broken? That's probably what he wanted to do. That's probably, knowing children, you know, he probably wanted to rub it in his dad's face to see, like, hey, there's something wrong with your game, Dad.
Yeah, probably. Or, like, you know, hopefully, you know, as a father, I don't know. To me, I have always been that way. Like, when Mario 64 came out, I did the same thing. So when I heard that, I was like, that's what I did. I mean, that's the first thing I did. Nobody had been in 3D space before, especially with Mario. I didn't even enter the castle. Me and my buddy took turns.
That's such a cool animation, him running through the door. Sorry.
You're all right. Me and my buddy took turns passing the controller back and forth, just running around and flipping around before we went even the castle for the first time. You know, we went in,
That's
and then
so wholesome. He didn't even want to steal the moment. He just was like, look at this. Well, okay, you can talk about that a little bit. How did that go?
I mean,
you've told me the story about your buddy getting the N64.
Oh yeah, he got the N64 and he said, man, he called me and he said, dude, you just have to make sure that you get home, and you get over to my house. You have to check this out. We were able to rent it from Blockbuster, and we have the N64 ahead of time, you know, and wanted to show me like what Mario was doing, because we had experienced Mario World together for the first time. So, like, you know, it was one of those situations where, you know, since we had gotten that moment together for the first time, he wanted to make sure that we got to do the same for Mario 64. And it was just like to see the leap from Mario 3 to Mario World, and then, you know, to talk about how amazing that was, and then to see the leap between you know, Mario World and Mario 64. It's one of those things I'll never forget, and it also allows me to appreciate how things have, you know, evolved. And then in my older age, it allows me to see how it's, and excuse my language, how it's bullshit, how they continue to justify making more consoles, where I'm really wanting to fail to see where my money's going, because it was a lot easier to see when it was going when they were doubling processing power at smaller values.
Now it's literally like, how crazy can the shadows get? How realistic is the water?
The controller better be great, but can I please just have it in, like, a ridiculous amount of onboard storage, since you know I'm gonna need it anyways. Give me a ridiculous amount.
It needs to be 2 terabytes at this point,
at
because
minimum.
When one game
minimum.
Nowadays, when one game is always like 140 gigabytes,
yeah,
and you can only get a couple because, you know, they say it's a terabyte, but then there's, you know, the onboard operating system and all of that stuff. Like, it's more than that. You realize that you don't really, it takes up more space than, you know, then you get 6 to 8 games. That's what you get, unless you're buying more storage.
Unless it's AAA titles that are crazy, then you get maybe 4 games if you play those exclusively.
I mean, if you're lucky, the indie games are more generous on your storage. I'm gonna see if the backflip will get me up there. Yep.
Good job.
Very nice. All right. Get things going a little bit. I see you lurking in chat. Who is that? Drop something in the chat.
We appreciate
They
you.
left!
Aw.
Sorry, I did not mean to intimidate you.
It's all good.
Sometimes that happens, though.
No
I guess.
worries.
I just...
Hey, you got a couple of 1-up.
It
2
was
up. 2
you
extra
know,
mains.
For the... You know, in the future, I was not trying to call you out or anything. I was just trying to, you know, see how you felt about this game. You know, if you like Donkey Kong, just try to get a dialogue going, but it's alright.
No worries.
It's a little bit later. Sometimes people don't have the energy for that, and I totally understand.
But yeah, in this boss fight, you're gonna want to basically, you know...
He knocks you off the...
Yep, I think towards...
I remember you kept flipping upside down so the stuff didn't hit you.
But then if you're on your hands, he'll stump you with, you know, that jump. So the best thing to do is to kind of watch him, and then to hope that you're doing the handstand transition like when he's doing the jump, or being in the air when he's jumping. You're doing good. All you gotta do is
Now
get
this is
some.
bad. Is
So
it
you
still
get-
dropping? Are they still dropping?
It will right here. Let's shoot up there. Oh my god. Oh, and you did it.
Yep, I
Yes,
flipped upside down
Flashback.
to
Woo!
protect
Whoa,
myself.
That's what's going on. Woo.
Woo woo!
All right.
Let's go. I'm liking this. This is fun.
That's the first half of.
Maybe because I'm older, I'll be able to appreciate the fact that Mario vs. Donkey Kong is more of a puzzle type game. As a kid, I was expecting more platforming Mario, fast-paced action, and once I realized that it was a different type of game, I think I was maybe a little disappointed inside. But ultimately, after, being older now, I really appreciate this type of gameplay. And it's not, I guess, I thought it was boring at the time as a kid, and maybe it's just me having some sort of inner bias because I was expecting something different out of the experience.
The thing is, this is a continuation of what they could do with the arcade Donkey Kong, if you think about it.
Wow.
Now you get to put that wherever you want to connect, however, and I think you just hit A to actuate it.
How many?
So one time. So basically, you want to, any of those gaps between here, or here. You just hit A, and it should just lengthen between them.
I guess I'm gonna do it here so I can get that. What do you think? I can walk. Okay, if it's one, I can walk over it.
No,
right?
it'll go. It should do the whole thing both ways, I think. 'Cause
Oh.
it's both, see,
Okay, I'm just gonna do the one with this then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. Did you see that crazy
But
maneuver
how you
I
gonna
did
get
though?
How you gonna get across those spikes? Oh, I guess you
I
can
can
across
go
the
and
top.
grab that other
Yeah,
one.
you can go across the top.
Oh, it goes away.
So it's a time thing.
Okay, so I can use it multiple times then. So I can literally.
Yeah, and there's one on the other side too. You probably could have made it.
This is really fun.
It's definitely cool because it's bite-sized. You can just mess around for a little bit and, feel like you got a good sense of accomplishment, and then...
That guy was scaring me. I didn't know if he could, drop off the top of the ceiling or anything. I've played so many different types of games that some games will literally be they'll be sitting on the top of the screen, then they'll just drop down right on top of you.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of crazy ramp this game has possible, so...
I was just thinking that almost exactly in synchronicity. That there is ramp, but you're not going to have to worry about it right away.
Oh, man.
It's more along the lines of the fact that it's nine stages, I believe, so...
Yeah, so, as we mentioned earlier, definitely expect some NES games tomorrow, likely some Super Dodgeball.
We'll start off with Super Dodgeball.
I think we should also do some... What's that awesome baseball game? The
Dusty Diamonds.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it is.
Is that on the Mini? I mean, we own that, so isn't that on the Mini?
Well, yeah, we're gonna probably play on the EverDrive on the original NES.
Right. Actually, it is better to play it on the EverDrive.
Yep, because that way it's just gonna be cleaner for my inputs to be able to do it through audio,
That's
video,
true.
connected up and upscaled to
I
HD.
agree.
But we will definitely be hitting up. So far we're gonna be looking at some. And I think would be kind of fun since we're just booting up NES. I would like just to see if we can get through the first 3 stages of Battletoads. I'm not trying to do things crazy, but just through the first 3 stages.
I remember the first time as a kid when I was so disappointed playing Battle. Okay, so to put it into perspective, Dad has always had a huge collection of NES games. So as a kid, I would go, whether he was in there or not, I would go in there and play, once a day was my goal. Sometimes I wouldn't get around to it, but I was always trying to pick a new game out of the collection to play. And the worst experience, I was by myself, and I don't think anyone was home. I think it was just me, and I'm in the room in the house. We always referred to this room as the arcade because that's where all the video games were. So I was in the arcade by myself, and I'm playing Battletoads. And I got to the infamous speeder section, and I just I felt like it was hours. It could be hyperbole, but I really felt like I was in there for hours trying to get past that, and it just didn't seem possible because it was just they expected so much.
Yep, you were right. You have to put you have to put the first one here, and the second one here. You could do that. It's definitely a very
I
free
could
form.
I could just do a backward. Oh, you can't stand on the top of that.
Oof.
Oh no! 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 No!
Oof.
Sacrifice to the flame,
You
man.
got a lot of lives though. You're doing well.
Yeah. So, anyone new to chat? This is Donkey Kong 94, also known as the first Mario vs. Donkey Kong game. And to as an introduction to the game, you actually play through the original levels of Donkey Kong in this new format, where you have all kinds of new movement capabilities. Like you can do this little handstand and it gives you a jump, as well as this backflip slash side flip. Me and Dad don't really know what it's intended to look like. I mean, I'm sure like the game manual would likely tell you, but unfortunately when you buy a lot of Game Boy games secondhand, they don't tend to have those kind of awesome things in them. So I mean, I guess we could look at it online possibly, but as far as we're concerned, we're calling it a backflip.
Yep.
But this game really debuted a lot of Mario's crazier movement capabilities prior to Mario 64.
Correct.
Okay, so
you can get that guy there.
okay, I'm not gonna drop off.
Right.
Oh.
You just want to wait, but then that's going to time out, right? So you want to like wait, knowing that you're going to you want to do the length. You probably can do the platform first, but you want to make sure that you know.
I'm
Well, if you put that up there, that's in line with that, then you should be able to climb up to it and then do a handstand jump or a backflip up to the next one. Oh,
what? I literally. Why did it let me fall through the platform?
that's crazy.
That's kind of frustrating, but it's all right. I'll get through this stage. I have 10 lives.
Yeah, you definitely got a good grasp on some extra guys.
Well, yeah, this stage, when you start, it gives you a 1-up, so you can't lose a life unless you don't get it. Like that. I just had to prove myself wrong. Unfortunately, when you place those, you can't walk all the way up in a continuous fluid motion. That's what I was trying to test. I placed that right above the other one, and I was just trying to see if I was able to walk all the way up this one and then continue walking or climbing up the other ladder. Yeah, but man, Dad, I'm loving playing this so far. I can't say I enjoyed these type of puzzle games as a kid, because I didn't. I just didn't have the attention span for it. But now that I'm able to appreciate them, like it is very satisfying clearing each and every level.
It's one of those situations where it's bite-sized rewards, so like you can. That's too far.
Oh, that'll kill you?
Yep, that's
Oh.
full screen is too far.
Oh, okay.
But it gives you the little rewards at a time, and if you only have enough time to play a couple boards, then you still get the satisfaction of getting a little bit of gains
and feeling the progression, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. One of my other favorite NES games was Bubble Bobble.
that's
Though
a
I
good
don't
one.
know if we'll ever beat it. Maybe on stream.
We will
Maybe
beat it.
that will be a marathon game we cover on stream, trying to beat Bubble Bobble 2-player.
Absolutely.
Can I not?
You just have to wait.
Yeah, I didn't think I was clear
Just
to
got
do that.
to wait. Oh no, you're all right.
Luckily, I was half
Yep.
done it.
Yep.
Okay, so
I think that if you don't get it this time, I think you should do.
I have a different idea in mind.
different idea. I got you. There you go. Can you get
Is that gonna kill me? Oh, jerk.
No, there you go. Your time is very, very. Oh, oh wow.
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna climb right up and get that.
You can always see. You never know.
Okay. You can't. I keep forgetting you can't jump off the top of that ladder. It's not a solid platform.
Right. So.
Okay. So
you want to almost always try to marry
just gonna
the
put-
platforms together with an existing platform, because you know that's a good.
I'm gonna do that.
That's possible.
It's not letting me.
No,
do it.
because it's on top of item box.
Oh. Well, I should just go up and get that.
Are you gonna make it in time, or are you gonna fall from the very top? Oh.
Ah.
I love that extra animation.
He's just like
falling on his
wriggling
face.
in pain. Like, okay.
Just go ahead and put it in line with the key line, and then
How do I? But then I can't get the.
Yeah, you can. You can climb up all the way with this ladder that you're gonna. You're gonna marry that up to that.
Can I go above it?
You wouldn't even have to do that. You would just have to do it on the square below
But
it.
then
It
I
would've
can
dropped
climb
it.
up
It would have
it?
dropped it down the. You should.
I don't know.
You
Sorry,
can't,
I don't.
You can't hear. I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you can't, we'll find out together here shortly.
Okay, so I'm gonna try this, in this.
Well, that's a guarantee. Just
Yep,
put it on the
and then-
there you go.
Yep, that's exactly what I was trying to do the first time.
Right. I was gonna say, unfortunately, I think you're making it a little bit more difficult on yourself.
I overthink a lot, so
It's all good. It's a critical thinking game. That's another
Right.
reason why I don't think you liked it when you were younger, because you wanted instant gratification.
why I didn't like Tetris, though I
Yeah.
love Tetris now. I can sit on the DS. I will sit and play through that Tetris marathon mode until like I'm sick of it.
Future Goals is a handheld with capture card capabilities.
God, that's so
plus.
expensive
We
because
will
nobody does it anymore, dude. Nobody installs those.
It'll
Like
be just great that
we
we'll
literally
be
have
able
to buy. We
niche
literally have to
content.
buy one though.
Boof.
We're gonna have to buy like an already. I mean, I'm sure people still sell the equipment to do it myself, but I'm not with an expensive piece of tech like that. To install, like, I'm sure it's not that hard, but I also am not super experienced in that field, and I'd rather someone install it and have it all running and working in proper order, so I don't mess it up possibly. Because I also know that certain
Maybe you can do the handstand off the duck set.
Yep. Certain settings and stuff are very
need the
important to
key.
have specifically set up. Like, certain settings are crucial or else the game's not going to record properly, so I don't know much about that whole process.
You gotta go down counterclockwise and up that way.
Can I drop down below platforms?
I don't know. Nope.
How do I get down there then?
Go to the left.
Okay.
Go down. All the way down.
Yeah.
Go to the right. To the right.
To the right.
No, like on that, you were on the right platform. That's what goes to the right. Drop down.
Drop down?
Yeah. Oh, I guess not.
Uh,
Okay.
I was like,
Wait a minute.
why? I just didn't know why
No,
those
no,
elevators
wait,
kept
wait.
going up.
You're gonna get
The ladder.
the ladder and you're gonna climb down, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna get the ladder and you're gonna climb down. You're gonna put one so you can climb down and drop down there. To the right of that, to the right. There you go.
Ah,
There you
that's
go.
why that platform's there.
Yeah, nice.
I didn't know if I was gonna die or
You
not.
can do the swing on that. You can swing around and get
Oh,
a higher jump
really?
on that. Yeah.
That's cool. So another movement capability
Yeah.
that Mario has.
Which they use that later in Mario Sunshine.
Wow, they literally just demo how if it would make sense for Mario to do certain things.
Yeah.
I was scared. I was scared.
How did you survive
How
off
did
that
I
jump?
take a weird jump
I don't
off
know.
the
Yeah,
wall?
you did. You wall jumped.
I was scared because I thought it was gonna be like a Mega Man situation where when you're standing on that platform, they're gonna just move the platform under the platform, so then it just knocks you into the pit. And I was like, "Hold up, you're overthinking it."
Right.
And then I was just like panicking.
Why don't you do it since you're there, and you can get that hat. So I think you hold an A, maybe, or up, and then you hold it up, and then you do that.
Up, down, up, down, up, down,
And you
up,
let-
down, A to let go. Okay.
But you can do like a higher one somehow.
You have to like build up momentum.
I think it's not as many times as you want. I think it's just like one, maybe.
Really? Okay.
Macy?
See, I didn't get any height off of that.
Then do it. Okay, then. I think you should have to. Just
Are
hold-
you sure it goes up higher?
Just hold-
Oh, did I accidentally?
You're right.
Did I change a filter?
There you go.
Okay, here you go.
I mean, I might be wrong.
I don't know if it goes any higher than that. But
Just hold
the
it up.
Super Game Boy is probably
There
the
you
best.
go.
Oh, you have to hold up.
Ooh,
You just
there
hold
go.
up?
There, yep, just hold up.
Okay, but like I was saying, the Super Game Boy is the best way to play Game Boy games, in my opinion. Just because the accessibility, I guess you're more likely to be able to do that than get the Game Boy
Well, eventually
player
we'll
for
have
the GameCube.
we can do a comparison video sometime, with the analog pocket in docked form versus this sometime. It's not going to come anytime in the future, but we will eventually be able to see. But right now, I think this is classic and feels great on original hardware, which is how we prefer
The
to play
Super
these
Nintendo
things.
controller is also very good.
Yes, it's amazing.
It holds up very well.
All right, so you're gonna remember you have to get that guy, and then the ladder drop down, so you can drop down that platform. But
Okay, I just wanted to take the enemies out.
you got plenty of time.
Let's do that. Okay. And I'm not going to be as paranoid here because literally I thought once I dropped down, it was just going to knock me into that pit.
Right. And you should be able to just ride that up and... Oh no. Oh no, no, no. You killed the duck. No, wait, how are you going to get that key up there?
Do this. I'm gonna do this.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Shit. Shit.
That's going to fade, and then you're going to...
I
Yep.
have to go do the whole deal again.
That's
Sorry for my language. We typically try to keep it pretty clean, but sometimes when frustration sets in, you let a few words.
Yeah, we're just
slip.
trying to on this first stream. We're just trying to go through for the first world and just kind of show you a bit of the original Mario versus Donkey Kong, and remembrance of the fact that they've pretty much remastered the first one for Game Boy Advance, and they're celebrating that coming out on the Switch pretty much today. So we thought we'd bring it back OG and show you where it all came from.
Yeah. And I didn't know that Donkey Kong 94 is essentially the first in the series.
You can see it. We're playing it, and if you don't believe us, and
Come on, baby, give me a 3.
I don't know if it's ever been documented, but you can.
I accidentally.
That's
I got.
okay. No worries.
2.
You can actually see it, and the move set and like the layout of the levels, and but I hope that you guys are enjoying that new game if you're playing it. So if you think about how cool it is that there was that original boss battle of the first game where you go through the first 4 stages.
So
Now
I just got flattened.
We get to see a couple variances of that now.
I wanted to say something. If you're new to stream and you haven't been in since the beginning, when you start this game, you have to go through the first few stages of Donkey Kong to actually... Oh, it's know-it-all. Know-it-all, dropping some knowledge. Nintendo itself is 135 years old. Crazy how games like this still hold up. Oh yeah, this game's super fun, and it literally started a series of Mario versus Donkey Kong puzzle games. And in the beginning of this, it actually they remake all of the first game in the first set of levels, because and obviously in Donkey Kong it repeats multiple times. So you just go through one set of that, and then you go through and do the puzzle portion. But it also feels very, I don't know, it feels familiar for whatever reason. Like,
I think you have to pick them up.
Yep. You know what I mean, though? Like, for whatever reason, this game just feels kind of familiar, though I haven't played it. It's
like if you got to play the original arcade Donkey Kong, he got to flesh it out in the initial and, let you do all kinds of crazy things, and, you're still going through this aesthetic, but again, we're just on World 1, and it's kind of retains
it also looks
the
very
charm
good
of that.
It looks... Oh my gosh, I just saved myself right there. It looks fantastic. It helps that it just looks so good, but it's also stretched to fit a TV. It's not on a very small screen like the original Game Boy.
Well, we're playing also on an upscaler that's upscaling a Super Nintendo through an AV to HDMI upscale, so we're 1080p, and I think it's awesome that we get to see it that way. So he just beat the first world of Donkey Kong, and we're just going to show you the first 5 minutes of the next one to kind of round this one out. But we don't get super spoily, and plus we don't know if this is the beginning of a Let's Play or not, or just just one of those random streams of this game in honor of the new one coming out. But I hope that you're enjoying this game so far. I know that you said that you have, Bray.
Yeah, I definitely, I feel like, I know you have some obligations later tonight, but I feel like I might do a solo stream. Might just play something on the Super Nintendo, maybe play some other Game Boy games.
Heck yeah, man.
I'm not,
I can't wait to see you do that. I would love to see what you do.
I just love the Game Boy. The Game Boy, most of it, holds up very well. Unless it's ports of games for console, then it tends to suck. Unless it's Mario games. The Mario games are treated with a lot of dignity. Wow, I like the aesthetic change.
Yeah, I'm just... Oh god, he has spikes. Just kind of showing that, it went from the Girders big city stage, and now we're kind of creeping out into the world. It's such an expansive game for a little Game Boy game, and you get a save, battery save, so you don't have to worry about doing it all in one go, and 9 worlds with multiple levels and multiple boss battles in between each. I think it's broken up between 2 boss battles. It's a very big value for your money.
Okay, so Know-It-All's got another question.
Sure.
What's your opinion on Spyro?
I personally have never got to get into the Spyro games. When I put my eggs in the PlayStation basket, it was almost exclusively in the form of 16-bit RPGs. I
know you also got into the Resident Evils a little bit.
Right. And then, the wrestling games for PlayStation.
So maybe we ought to go through and play Spyro, considering neither of us have nostalgia. So it's gonna be a brand, like it's just gonna be our, how we feel about Spyro.
Well, to be fair, I think that you do have a little bit of nostalgia for it.
Okay, most Spyro fans don't think that Skylanders is a good representation of Spyro because it's not. The character is a completely different character. He looks entirely different. He acts different. I mean, even by the third game, I've heard that Spyro slightly starts changing in characteristics. So I wouldn't say Skylanders Spyro is the same as, the Collectathon platform, or what is it, a Collectathon Spyro?
I'm not sure.
No, at all. Is
yeah.
is Spyro like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64
or is it
and
just like
stuff?
a platformer? Like,
or is it like a level-based platformer? Because that just shows how little experience I have with Spyro. I know what the gameplay looks like, I just don't know what the objective of the game is. I mean, I have a bunch of friends who their parents, like, Dad was very NES oriented when it came to showing me games growing up, in, older Nintendo generations. So, I had friends who their dads were the same way about PlayStation, and they were showing them the Spyro games and Crash Bandicoot and a lot of those games, whereas I didn't really get into the PlayStation 1 era and PS2 era. I mean, as far as my experience goes, is Parappa the Rapper on, or Parappa the Rappa on PS1. On the PS1 that's self-contained with the little screen.
yeah.
You had that one. That
Yeah.
was so cool to me.
I'm just trying to see if I can get to this second boss or this first boss battle.
What's that model called?
It's the PSONE.
Oh, the PS1.
Yep.
Like, one is in the word one.
Yep. But yeah, definitely down to experience Spyro games. At some
Okay,
point.
so Spyro is like a 3D platformer, but so you say it's like Cuphead. By that, do you mean it's kind of like a bullet hell situation where a lot of projectiles are going on at once,
that.
and you're kind of trying to manage and jump around those? Like, because from what, like, I'm sure rudimentarily,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Rudimentarily?
I don't know if that's a word.
Probably.
But I'm sure
not.
at its core, Skylanders based its gameplay on Spyro, considering that's the character they used. I just know that Spyro fans don't like that representation, so the gameplay, I'm sure, is lightly similar to what you'd expect from Skylanders, but Skylanders is also an easy-ass game. Those games were just, like, they were a breeze for me as a kid. I would play through it in, like, 3 days. A mix of Cuphead and Crash Bandicoot. So, okay,
Neat.
so just more... Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. But yeah, we are definitely willing to go through some of those games that we have less experience. Yeah, it's not a Spyro... Okay, that last part got cut off. I never knew Skylanders was a Spyro spin-off. It's more like Activision used Spyro's likeness to try to boost popularity with older fans and maybe try to get them nostalgic when playing the game with their kids. Because I feel like Skylanders is one of those games that you kind of would play with your parents, or like it's an easy game, so it would be a great way for you and you and your kid to connect. Though me and Dad never played it because I was just more focused on beating the shit out of games as a kid, and sometimes I'd be like, "Nah, Dad, I got it. I can beat this game."
We did a couple times, but like it was just like so easy that
It's not fun for an older person. I don't feel like
it's very smash A. No matter, you could like talk to your kid and like be paying half attention and still smash A and to win.
it was still fun.
It's still fun because the voice acting is very charming and there's a lot of character depth that they try to do for what it is.
I know that this is likely nowhere near in the future, even though we might want to start gathering that stuff before, for whatever reason, it becomes expensive. I would like to go and play Skylanders
in 2024, 2025,
maybe
that's
next
crazy.
year.
Yeah, that's definitely something
that I just think that would be fun.
It would,
because
yeah.
like I know a lot of people around my age have nostalgia for Skylanders, even though in retrospect it might be a little easy, but I just feel like I just have such nostalgia for that, considering it was part of my childhood. I just think it would be cool to see how that holds up. If I think the writing, if anything, is what holds up the best. The character writing, I'm not exactly sure the voice actor's name.
He's freaking Invader Zim. And,
yeah, Invader Zim,
Angry Beavers. And...
the guy who plays Chaos, that's Invader
Yeah.
Zim, and Daggett and Angry Beavers, which are two properties that I loved as a kid. Angry Beavers was just hilarious to me as a kid. One of my favorite Nickelodeon shows, definitely. But yeah, it's cool that he's, you know, a main character in that. But yeah, back to Donkey Kong. Know-it-all, how far is your experience with Donkey Kong? Like, I'm sure you've probably played the original. Like, have you played Donkey Kong Country? You know, I also don't know how far back your video game like playing goes. Like, I know you play a lot of modern games, but I'm not sure how far your background is. If you just want to kind of, you know, fill me in a little bit. Obviously, I can tell you're like early PS1 and stuff, for sure. I just love interacting with you guys in the chat, and you know, Dad does too. It's awesome to get to know people on a personal level in the community. That's always what I've wanted. Like, I'm sure a lot of people feel like it's a chore, but I don't get that perspective. Like, to me, these are my friends. These are people, like, you know, not to be morbid or anything, but like, after high school, you kind of lose a lot of your friends. You know, you go from having a pretty vast, expansive group of friends that you talk to having some ride or dies you talk to regularly, and that's all right. It's okay for your friend group to get smaller and more close-knit. But I know at the same time, I never really had many online friends who I would consistently be able to play with because they would either switch console, start getting into different games than me, or they wouldn't really keep up, so like they wouldn't message me anymore. So like, to be able to have essentially a group of online friends, i.e. the community, where we're able to interact and we're able to play together, it brings a whole new love and appreciation for certain things that maybe I wouldn't have been able to experience on my own. Like Mr. Know-It-All mentioning Spyro. I don't think about Spyro often. In that, but even
there's
though
some people that have the affinity for Spyro that like we have for
I
like a
also
Mario or a
know
Zelda.
I know for certain it's a good game, and I think that's one of those backlogged titles that I'm just like, that's a rainy day game. I'll get around to Spyro. I know everyone says it's amazing, so I'll love it. I'm sure I'll love it. It's going to be a great, fantastic experience. So sometimes when I know that that's the case, I will put that off because it's safe. You know what I mean? It's something I know I'm going to enjoy. Say, for example, if I can think of another title off the top of my head, the God of War games. That's just a safe bet. I know going through the first 3 God of War games, I'm going to have a good time.
Yep.
And even subsequently, the newer God of War games, I'm going to have a good time. They're good games. So, I haven't got around to them. But I know they're fantastic. And I know I'm going to play them, for sure. They're definitely games that you can't miss them. But knowing that I have hundreds of games that are on my backlog, I just tackle them as I can.
Okay, I can't take a shortcut there. I keep thinking I can. And now I have figured out I definitely cannot.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys would want us to play the God of War games, that's another series that we'd obviously have to buy them.
I'm super excited to go back to the Borderlands with You Know It All, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, Borderlands, that's another game
where...
where...
I stopped talking about it since we talked about it the other
day.
day.
After your zombies journey, after you beat all the maps, then anything's fair game, and we can start tackling Borderlands or other shooters. Alright, Know-It-All says, not gonna lie, I don't know all the different ones. I've played one with just DK, then one with DK and Junior, and then the DK Duo Racing one, or something like that. I've only ever played 3 of them. Okay. I've never been the biggest fan of platformers, but I'm trying to branch out, he says. That's healthy. That's great, especially when you feel like you've played all of your games or the games that you love. You know, like, though it might be going out of your comfort zone, you know, coming and playing different types of games, you will find some ones you love. Even if you don't like, say you might not like platformers as a whole, you will find platformers that are your jam. And I know you will. and everyone will find that in every genre of game. I don't like horror games, but I'm sure there are horror games that I'm gonna love.
I told myself I would never love a horror game,
And then you played Bioshock, and that's pretty
even
cool.
more so, and it's weird. One of the first NES games I bought fully in box with my own money was Friday the 13th.
And you're not really the biggest horror movie fan.
I'm not, but I loved that was like the earliest jump scare game, man.
But I feel like, though we've never been big horror people, we also understand how good that genre can be. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Scream. I'm not a big horror fan. I love how Scream is being satirical and talking about you could have jumped to that has Spiny on his back. But it's talking about the genre, but in a funny way. But then when you get to the point where it's the mid-2000s parody movies, I think the scary movies, sorry if you're a fan of these, I think they're the dumbest things ever. It is the stupidest shit. Mid-2000s and late 90s parody movie culture is just so dumb. It's the dumbest shit ever. Like, the only movie the funniest movie that is a parody-esque, like, it's like one of those movies that's shitty on purpose. The funniest movie I think I ever watched that was like that. I was in class with my buddies, and we're watching it off of the laptop.
Why? Why? Every time?
Man. It's a small platform, and you just keep rolling off.
I'm getting mad.
But the movie was called Velocipaster. And it is just so silly. Literally, the whole premise is like this guy is essentially like he is like in the Brotherhood of the Church or whatever. I don't know what the terminology is quite for that, but like he's in the church and he's about to become vetted, and he ends up getting like scratched by I don't even remember how he becomes a velociraptor. That's how stupid it is. But like literally like. Then he's trying to still be a pastor while, like, he randomly transforms like a werewolf into a velociraptor. But then they use the most inconsistent effects. When his family dies in an explosion, it literally says insert. Nobody's gonna watch this movie. But it literally says insert explosion effects here, and it has like the worst quality like mock-up like placeholder explosion effects. Just leave the umbrella, Dad. Thank you.
Jeez.
But literally, like, I do like movies that are self-referential to how horrible they are, and that was the whole goal. But I guess the scary movie culture I never really liked that, because Scream did it the best, and no movie is ever gonna be self-referential to the genre better than Scream. Because literally they're talking about topical references about classic horror movies, and it just fits so perfectly. It just makes sense. It truly just makes sense. They're talking about Friday the 13th. They're talking about, Nightmare on Elm Street.
They're talking about it while it's happening.
Yeah, and then they're talking about meta movie moments, or like meta horror movie moments while they're happening. Like, this is when you're not supposed to leave, because when you leave the group, you're going to die, and then go get beers, and then someone dies. Like, that's literally like, that's one of my favorite things about that movie. Like, and then all the twists and turns, the fact that you think certain people are dead, and then they might not be dead, and they are dead, and like, it's all over the place. Like, that movie throws you for a loop multiple times, and that's one of those movies that you'll never really be able to recapture the sort of moment you felt when you watched the first Scream movie for the first time.
Right.
That's up there with movies like...
Thanks for the hearts in chat. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Outlast games. Yeah. That's another game I've heard is classic. Sorry if we bounce around all the time. I'm a little ADHD, so I kind of go from chat to dad to chat to my own conversation. So I hope that doesn't bother any of you guys.
Let's see what this boss battle
is
all
about.
about.
So... He said, I'm also not a horror fan, but Resident Evil 7 is super good.
Look, now we have some Donkey Kong Jr. in here.
It does. It incorporates...
I cannot believe that.
It incorporates the vines and the dropping and even the little enemies from Donkey Kong Jr.
Wow.
But instead of being Mario using them, they're being used against him.
That's awesome.
That is very awesome.
I don't know if I can't remember the last time I got this far. This is we were talking about rainy day games. This is a rainy day game for me.
Absolutely.
When I did play it, I played it the first world. almost exclusively because I like to play the retro first 4 stages. That's just the Donkey Kong arcade game, and just see how high I could get score-wise. Kind of score attack that as its own mini thing, which is really cool that you can do as well. But again, if you're just tuning in, this game's got, I believe, 9 stages divided between subs, 8 and 9 sub stages each. There's so many boards. You can save, so you have the ability there to not have to continue right away and leave where you left off, and it's pretty cool with that. If you're new, you're seeing that we're playing this on original hardware on the Super Nintendo on a Super Game Boy with an upscaler, so we can convert it and have the signal. But this is not something that's available on Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy right now. The only way that you can play this game is if you own the original copy of the cartridge. So can't think of a better way to play it than on a TV, especially when you play it on the Super Game Boy. You get this sweet border that's reminiscent of the Donkey Kong arcade game. And we're playing this in homage to the fact that it's 30 years old and pretty much the original Donkey Kong, Mario vs. Donkey Kong game. So that's topical right now with the new one coming out for Switch. This is neat though that we're getting some Donkey Kong Jr. I love Donkey Kong Jr. in the arcade. It's sweet. One of my dream cabinets to own would be the triple cab with Donkey Kong Jr. and Mario Brothers, because that's the triple threat as far as arcade games. You get a lot of value there, but they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, so we've got Mr. Know-It-All said Resident Evil 7. I don't know how many of them there are. Yeah, I think that's Biohazard, right? That is probably the best reviewed, more modern Resident Evil I've heard of. People love 3 and 4 a lot. People are big fans of Resident Evil 3 and 4. So, I mean, we're those are more rainy day games. I've never played a Resident Evil game besides the first one, which I feel is not a good representation of the series at all. The tank controls with the weird cameras. I'm sure we'll get around to playing it, but I'd rather play one of the more advanced titles.
Going back to also this, and I agree, but going back to this, you can see with the Game Boy, the Super Game Boy, and how it does coloration. You can see this neat coloration of the forest. You're not going to see this if you're playing it on the original Game Boy, and the color upscale that you see if you put a Game Boy cartridge in the Game Boy Color. You're going to see a little bit there, but this is pretty neat to be able to see it so fleshed out. And but basically, we wanted to just show you, some of this game. Wow, now we're going to a water world. There's so much depth, guys, with this game. I think that we will continue this at some point, but this is kind of just the first part of this one. But we hope that you enjoyed some of this footage of
the very first Mario vs. Donkey Kong game.
Yeah.
I've only seen footage of the Game Boy Advance one, but it's been super fun playing through this today. The movement capabilities I'm super impressed by.
Let's see what the swimming looks
a
like.
new
Look at the
fact.
swimming.
It's a little new factoid that I can throw at people that
Look
are
at that.
whenever they talk about oh, the movement capabilities in Mario 64, and be like, well, actually, did you know that Mario vs. Donkey Kong has some pretty awesome movement capabilities as well?
Yeah, the one from 1994. But it says just Donkey Kong on the title, so it's again Donkey Kong 94 is kind of an insider term for
It's
it.
because you're not going to call it just Donkey Kong or Donkey Kong Game Boy Donkey Kong,
see
because there's another Game Boy Donkey Kong game.
Mario's got his infinite underwater breathing capabilities. I love the little animation of the bubble.
Oh, you don't
coming
have
up.
to go up for air?
Nope.
I figured you had to go up for air.
But yeah, we're just kind of we're gonna trail off with a little bit of this, so you have something to look forward to. And again, like I said, there's lots more of this game. But hey, check it out. Definitely suggest it, and check out the new one that just came out for Switch today. We can't wait to check that out sometime soon. There is a demo in the eShop you can check out, and I don't know what that entails, but I'm sure that you can get a taste of it and see a continuation of what this is in the most present graphical style. So we hope that you've enjoyed it, and it's been Bray and Brian from the Vid-Bits.
Thank you so much. We're gonna leave you with a couple minutes of just solid gameplay. I'm gonna finish this stage out, but we're gonna we're going to conclude the talking portion of this stream. And thank you guys so much for the interaction. Thank you so much for all the constant support throughout, these months, with the channel. Me and Dad have loved to interact with you guys in all the different ways possible. You guys have made so much of our dreams possible. Like, if it weren't for you guys putting in the level of effort that you do, we wouldn't be in the position that we are. So once again, thank you to each and every one of you guys in the community for wanting to stick with us, even though, we go on our random rants, we get off topic, we talk about really random stuff. Like, we want to
But you also get some factual information, and
we're always going to nuke you with all the information we know about a given topic.
Absolutely.
But as always, it's been Bray.
And Brian.
From the Vid-Bits. Peace.